If you're committed to accumulating as much Bitcoin as possible to save you and your family from the pending fiat implosion, you need to use a budget. My wife and I have been using a budget for over 10 years, and I can't imagine our lives without it. It is the single biggest reason I'm sitting here talking to you instead of going to work. I know, a budget? Seriously? I thought this was a Bitcoin channel. It is, and yes, I'm serious. I'll tell you why. The word budget has gotten a bad rap over the years. A budget is simply a system of directing the money you make. Actually, the definition is an estimate of income and expenditure for a set period of time. And that's exactly what I'm talking about. Basically, what you're going to do is going to give every single dollar that you make a job to do each month. Think of a budget as giving every single dollar you make a little tiny briefcase and a little tie and sending them off to work each month. It's time for your money to work for you instead of doing the opposite. Start thinking about a budget as a positive thing in your life, not a negative thing. After you set up a budget and get your financial house in order, you should be able to trade more dirty fiat for precious Bitcoin than you ever thought possible. And eventually tell your boss to shove it and buy that beachside condo in St. Bart's and finally learn to speak French. Mission accomplished. Or should I say, mission accomplie. The information I present in this video is not financial or accounting advice. This video is for educational and entertainment purposes only. Please make your own decisions about what to do with your own money. So how do you set up this elusive budget? A huge spreadsheet? Seriously? No, that's not going to happen. There are many budgeting applications available, but the best one I can find is free and offered by the anti-Bitcoiner, Dave Ramsey. It's available at EveryDollar.com. They have a paid plan as well, and I'll dig into that in another video if you want me to look at that. Let me know in the comments. Now, I'm sure it would piss Dave off if he knew that I was recommending his product to help you accumulate as much Bitcoin as possible. So let's keep it between us. All of this could be done in a spreadsheet if you're so inclined, but the EveryDollar application just makes it super easy. And in my experience, if it's not super easy, people just won't do it. And I really want you to do this. All right, some prerequisites first. You're going to need 3 bank accounts. My bank lets me open new accounts online in seconds. If yours doesn't, you need a new bank. The accounts you need are 1 checking account and 2 savings accounts, labeled emergency fund and escrow fund. You'll find out why in a minute. And eventually, you'll need a brokerage account and or a Roth IRA account for more long-term investing. Fidelity is a good choice for that. The second thing you need to do after you set up your bank accounts is do a full inventory of your net worth. You take all of your assets or what you own, and you subtract all of your debts or what you owe, and you end up with your net worth. If you're married, do it together as a couple. It's called a personal financial statement or PFS, and you should have one sitting around somewhere, and you should update it maybe once a quarter or twice a year or something like that. This exercise will give you an accurate picture of your financial health and just might surprise you, hopefully in a positive way. It can easily be done in a spreadsheet in a matter of 30 minutes or so. Now that the bank and investing accounts are set up and the personal financial statement is done, you are ready to go. The 4 top priorities for any person or family, yes, before Bitcoin, are food, utilities, shelter, and transportation. Once you can comfortably afford these 4 things, then you can worry about all the other stuff. So get those items buttoned down first. As I said, the EveryDollar app is a product of Dave Ramsey / Ramsey Solutions. In the app, there's a section that gives you a series of financial steps to take called baby steps to help you stay on track towards your financial goals, which for us is stacking more Bitcoin. I'm going to go through those 7 baby steps really quick. The first baby step is to set up a $1,000 emergency fund. You need to have some cash on the side in case something happens. Now, I realize $1,000 isn't going to cover a lot, but it's better than nothing. So set that $1,000 emergency fund up ASAP. And then you move that money into one of the savings accounts that you set up. Remember, 2 savings accounts? One of them was for emergency fund. That's where you put the $1,000. The second baby step is to pay off all of your debts except for your home if you do own a home. The system they recommend is called the debt Snowball. Basically, you just list your debts. You make minimum payments on all of the debts except the smallest one, and you start attacking that smallest debt. You pour every extra dollar you got, change under the cushions of the couch, anything you can find, you throw at that smallest debt. Then, once you get that paid off, you take all the payments you were making towards the smallest debt and you roll it into the next debt and you attack that one until you get that paid off. And then you take the payments from that debt, roll it into your third one, fourth one, etc., until you have all your debts paid off. So you don't worry about anything else. You just put your head down and pay the debts. Bitcoin will be there when you're ready, I promise. And the third baby step is to save 3 to 6 months of expenses. Listen, you shouldn't be pouring money into Bitcoin unless you have some money set aside in case something happens. And all of us were reminded during the pandemic that we needed to have an emergency fund set aside. 3 to 6 months sure would have made things a lot more comfortable during that time, right? So get that set up, put it away, and forget about it. Again, that goes in your emergency fund where it can earn some interest, hopefully. And the fourth baby step is to save 15% of your paycheck toward retirement. Now, most people, if you have access to a 401k at work, will just put some money into that 401k. Automatically comes out of the paycheck. They don't see it, so it's pretty painless. Dave Ramsey recommends reducing or even eliminating those 401k savings until your debts are paid off and then backing into it again with the money you were using to pay off the debts. It makes sense. Some people might want to maintain a little payment into the 401k, but once you get the debts paid off, you put 15% of your paycheck into the 401k. Now, it doesn't say that it can't be in Bitcoin, that 15%, but I'll leave that up to you. And the fifth baby step is to set up a college fund for the kids. I'd probably recommend you put that in fiat, probably not Bitcoin, although depending on when you invest, it could be a good option, but fiat would probably be safer. The sixth baby step is to pay off your house, and the seventh baby step is to live like a baller. So those are the baby steps that Dave Ramsey and Ramsey Solutions recommend you go through. You can mix Bitcoin in there if you want, but the safest way to do it is stick to fiat until you get through most of those baby steps and at least to the point where you're starting to save a significant portion of your paycheck. The big picture objective, at least with my finances, is to accumulate assets that don't go down in value with the debasement of fiat. You can choose what you want to invest in, but for me, that would be 1/3 of my funds into real estate that pays me money each month, 1/3 of my funds into growth stock ETFs or just stocks in general, and 1/3 of all my assets in Bitcoin or Bitcoin and crypto. Now that's my personal allocation. That has nothing to do with your situation. You have to decide what you want to do. But for me, that's my objective. I believe that 1/3, 1/3, 1/3 allocation protects me from the ridiculously reckless spending going on in Washington, D.C., much better than like a 60-40 stock bond allocation that most financial planners recommend. I don't have data on that. That's just my personal opinion. Let's take a look at the EveryDollar app and see how we can set up a budget so we can get you accumulating as much Bitcoin as possible. Okay, here we are inside the EveryDollar app, and I'm going to give you a little tour first. It's pretty quick. Like I said, they do have a paid version. It's $80 a year. Sounds like a lot, but when you break it down per month, it's not too bad. They do have a lot of functionality in the paid version. I do not use the paid version. I have never used a paid version, and I've been using this app in its various iterations for 10 years. So you don't need the paid version. If you look on the left-hand side, there's a few sections we're going to go through. First section is the budget itself. I've already set this up for you. I'll go through that in a minute. Then there's paycheck planning. I'm not sure exactly what that is, but I think it has to do with planning for your income if you have irregular income each month. That's part of the paid plan, and you can look into that if you want. There is a 14-day free trial if you want to look at it. You can set financial goals and a roadmap for your lifetime finances. That might be helpful. The Insights tab is the only reason that I would use the paid version, and that is a list of all of your expenses from the months prior and a pie chart and a really easy way to figure out where you're spending your money at a glance. And it could be really helpful in terms of budgeting. And then they have a list of Ramsey professionals, coaching and real estate professionals, investing professionals. And then they have a learn section with some video guides. And then down at the bottom is the baby steps. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and live like a baller at the bottom. And then that's it. Then at the top, we have the budget. Okay, in the budget area, there's sections, these little sections here, right there. This is the income section where you would put your planned income for the month, and then you can mark the income when you receive it. Same thing with the expenditures. What you've spent will be in this column. What you've planned to spend will be in this column. And if you'll notice really carefully up here, all of this income, $6,359, is allocated across multiple categories down below, and it all equals 0. In other words, $6,359 of income, $6,359 of expenses. Some months, something happens, and you have to draw from your emergency fund. You should have an emergency fund. So your expenses might be higher, but that's why you have an emergency fund. And then the next month, you start loading back into your emergency fund to build that back up again. Once you get used to working with a budget, you will not, I'm telling you, if you implement this, you will not stop it. It is a fantastic way to organize your finances. Okay, so we have income here. We haven't received it yet, but when we receive it, you just click on this bar and then you say, oh, I got my income, $6,100, income, dad, done. And then you can see that the income has been received. The overflow from the previous month. Okay, so at the end of the month, sometimes you're going to spend less than what you thought, and you're going to have extra money sitting in your checking account. So what you would do is you would roll that money over as income for the next month, because if you didn't spend it in March, it's available for May, right? Otherwise, your balance in your checking account is going to build up and up and up and up and up incrementally using what you didn't spend the prior month. So you have to calculate what you didn't spend each month, and you roll that over, and we're going to put that in the overflow from the previous month. There we go. Random income, I sold something on eBay, I got paid. There we go. So I received all my income. That's awesome. And now the month is going along. Every time I make an expense, I open the app on my phone and enter that expense into the appropriate category. So if I go grocery shopping, I enter the expenses, and it will tell me how much money I have left in each category. Now, in the very beginning, your estimates of what you're spending in each category are going to be wildly off. If you're not tracking your spending, you have no idea what you're spending, particularly on groceries. It's crazy. Certain things like maintenance in your house or utilities that you didn't really know, you just pay them. You have to pay the electric bill, but you didn't really know how much you're spending in a year. Some of those bills are going to surprise you. So as you spend money, you mark it in each category. So let's go through the budget here, and I'll show you these categories I have. The second category is for savings. And you can see there's emergency fund here. And we want to buy a new car eventually, so we're going to need to build up money in a fund. You see this here? That's a fund. This is not a fund yet, but I'm going to make it a fund. I'm going to click on it. Fund. Make this a fund. Original balance, 0. Target amount, how much do we need for a new car? $28,000. It's going to be a new used car, and the original balance is 0 because we're just starting it. We're going to save, and this should turn into a piggy bank. There it is, right there. So now each month, this remaining balance is going to increase by whatever you put in here, as long as you don't spend the money. So next month, if I put $230 into that fund, I'm going to allocate $230 of our income into that fund. Then we're going to end up with $460 in the remaining, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And that will build up. The fund money, besides the emergency fund, all of this money goes into the escrow savings account. Remember, you set up 2 savings accounts. One is the emergency fund. One is escrows. The escrows is a savings account that is more of a temporary savings account. So those ridiculous bills that you get once a year, like life insurance comes and you're like, oh my gosh, how am I going to pay this bill? Or if you pay car insurance annually, that's always what I call a budget buster. Those things can really hurt you. So you take those bills, divide them by 12, make a fund out of it, and each month you put money in there. Then when the bill comes, just transfer the money out of your savings account, your escrow savings account, into checking, pay the bill, no sweat. It's actually kind of like cheating the system. Want to take a family trip eventually? So we're going to make a fund out of that. I didn't make these other funds yet, but you would do that on yours. And of course, we want to have a Bitcoin monthly purchase, which we're going to set up on Swan Bitcoin or Coinbase or something like that. And we want to put a lot of money in there, $500. I'll get back to these funds in a second. Then the rest of the stuff is just boring old life, especially if you own a home. Mortgage, groceries, water, gas, electric, internet, streaming services, trash, blah, 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 gym. Oh, this is Planet Fitness is very cheap. Restaurants. Now, these are variable expenses. These are not funds or savings in any way. These are sort of utilities. And variable expenses, like we don't have to go to a restaurant in a month, but I'm going to take my wife out for a nice dinner or two, and we need some gas for our cars. We don't have a pet. There's some miscellaneous stuff that was left over, so I had to put it in there in order to get an EveryDollar budget. We don't need to buy any gifts this month. Then down here, it says spending funds. So all of these are going to be sort of mini savings accounts that we're going to put into the escrow account each month. And again, they're irregular payments. In other words, Christmas or Hanukkah comes around once a year. When it comes, you're always like, oh, how am I going to afford that bicycle for the kids? Well, you set up a Christmas fund and you put money in it each month. And then at Christmas time, you've got X amount of dollars to pay for those Christmas presents. It's brilliant. Turn each one of these into a piggy bank fund. I'll show you that one more time. Christmas fund, you go over here, you click fund, scroll up, make this a fund, target amount, I don't know, $1,500. Original balance is 0 and save. And that's it. Now there's a piggy bank. So again, each month, this balance will increase by whatever you're putting in this area. It's brilliant. I'm telling you, once you set up this escrow savings account, it will blow your mind at how much more financially comfortable you are with spending for things, particularly vacations and these budget busters that come around every 6 months or once a year that drive you crazy. Even things like the water heater breaks in the house and you have to pay for that. And you're like, oh, how am I going to do this? Well, I got a fund for it. Now, here's where things get interesting. I added these debts. If you don't have any debts, you wouldn't have this section down here. Hopefully you don't, but if you do, you can add a debt by clicking this button. I added these fake debts and we have planned amount to pay. We're going to attack the smallest debt here with whatever extra money we have, but we're already spent all of our money. Yes. Baby step 2, after setting up $1,000 emergency fund, is to pay off all your debts, not save 3 to 6 months of expenses. So we're going to go back up to the top here, and let's say we have $1,000 emergency fund set up already. This is going to 0. 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 And unfortunately, Bitcoin is going to 0. Now look, $1,500 to use to pay off this credit card. Are you kidding me? So we're going to pay off that $750 this month and then next month. And these are the minimum payments. Just leave this at the minimum payment, whatever they are. Pay the rest of the debts, minimum payments only. Attack the top one. Then we're going to take $750. Well, actually, we're going to take this too and this and put it here and knock this debt out really quick. And then we're going to take 25 plus 750 plus 740 and put it here. And in a few months, before you know it, we'll knock that debt out. And then this one, gone. It's crazy. This snowball payment method to pay off debts is nuts and very powerful. So once you get rid of these, then you go back and you fill this area in. Well, particularly this one. And that's it. Then at the end of the month, you add up all of your expenses, you find out what you didn't spend in each area, and you decide what you're going to move over into the escrow account. If you are going to move anything over into the escrow account, again, if it's not a piggy bank, it's a monthly expense. This gets moved over into the escrow account, and anything else with a piggy bank that has any dollar amount next to it. These do not have any dollar amounts. So each month, don't forget to move your escrow amounts into that escrow savings account. Otherwise, attack the heck out of your debts. Get rid of the debts, and then you can start buying serious Bitcoin. Now it should be clear that the best way to maximize your Bitcoin stash is to get your fiat finances in order ASAP. It's a daunting task, but you can do it if you just take it one baby step at a time. I know everybody's yelling at you, buy Bitcoin right now, buy. But look what just happened. The price dropped over 17% in 1 week, and it might not be finished yet. Believe me, take your time and get your shit together first. Then buy as much Bitcoin as you can get your dirty little hands on. Let me know if you have any questions or want to learn more about budgeting. I'm a budgeting pro at this point. Don't forget to hit the thumbs up and subscribe button while you're leaving a fantastic comment down below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.